This program is designed to provide general information with regards to the subject matters covered. This information is given with the understanding that neither the hosts, guests, sponsors, or station are engaged in rendering any specific and personal, medical, financial, legal, counseling, professional service, or any advice. You should seek the services of competent professionals before applying or trying any suggested ideas.
Good morning, true seekers and true crime junkies. Welcome back to another episode of Hit the Road Jack, Finding the Zodiac. I'd like to welcome to the show today, Nolan Del Campo.
Good morning, everybody.
Good morning. What shirt are we wearing today?
Oh, it's LA Rams.
Oh. Is it a football day? Football started yet?
It started yesterday. I wore it yesterday. I haven't changed yet today.
Must have been a long
game.
night.
The Hall of Fame game was yesterday. It's the first game of the year. It's a preseason. Yeah.
Well, good morning to you and to everybody. I actually watched a very interesting documentary this last week. You know me and my stuck on history, and I know that you can always glean a little bit of truth out of these things. I never expect to hear like the whole truth, and maybe even some sugarcoating, maybe even some information to band-aid over other information. And I've been saying this since the beginning, that they came at Trump so hard when he ran for presidency, weaponizing the media against him and giving all the Democrats in this country a reason to hate him, right? So the documentary that I saw was Government Gangsters by Kash Patel. Are you familiar with Kash Patel?
No.
Okay, I wasn't either. Evidently, he was in the intelligence agencies. So he claims, now this is the only part that I feel like in the documentary I don't believe, but he said that he was tasked with investigating the truths about Russiagate and a few other things that Trump had been deemed to have done in order to obtain presidency. You know, manipulating the votes and Russian money and all of this stuff that started way back in the beginning when he first ran. The interesting part about it is that they collectively, or at least Kash Patel, and he's wrote a book about it. So the book, I guess, is also Government Gangsters, which you might enjoy. But I think that the documentary was an hour and 4 minutes long. It was very succinct. It was very concise. It was very connective. So they did what I do, like the link analysis. They're showing you all the different agencies that were involved, which included the FBI, the CIA, the DOJ, FISA. Have you heard of FISA?
No.
I think it's Foreign Intelligence Service or something. What their job really is to give warrants to do foreign intelligence gathering. So wiretaps, warrants for searches, things of this nature. Either way, what he's broken apart is all of these people, including Hillary Clinton, Biden, Obama, all of these individuals that were involved in this massive scheme to claim that Trump was up to all these things, which of course he doesn't get touted for being innocent over until well after the fact. And who's really going to see this particular documentary? You don't know to look for it. You don't know to search for this type of information. You know what I'm saying? The Democrats in this country who voted for every Democrat is going to believe what they want to believe based on what the media showed. And they showed the tie-in with the media and how they were leaked particular information and continued to carry those lies forward for all these years. So I'm just excited that we got to see this before everybody in it dies, because that's usually what happens. We don't get to hear about it until 30, 40 years down the road, until these people are dead. But this was a massive attempt to cover up. He talks about a two-tier justice system where Biden was found to be holding 30 years worth of confidential and classified documents at his house. As a president, you're allowed to do that. But during the time he wasn't a president, he had these documents, but he never got vilified or had any criminal charges pressed against him, which it's supposed to be some form of insurrection or treason or something like that to do this, because you're not supposed to be holding it. So just like the emails with Hillary Clinton on the server, personal server she had at home, she had classified documents as well. And she's not a president, has never been a president, and again, was not criminally charged for this. But one of the programs they pulled off on Trump was to declare that he was holding classified information at his Mar-a-Lago home, which is what gave them the rights to search and do the warrants on his house. And it turns out the FBI planted the classified documents in his home to declare that he was holding classified documents, but he was a president. He's allowed to. So, but they took criminal charges against him. So why did they do that against Trump and not Hillary and not Biden? Then they talked about Biden's son, Hunter, and his laptop and the information that he had on it. He was the one that was actually communicating, I guess, with Chinese and Russian and all of these other people. And they basically disappeared his computer, just like John Mark Carr's computer, when he was found to have been dealing with child pornography on it. And of course, he went to jail. He absconded from jail. He hopped over to Malaysia and then to Thailand. And then he claimed he killed John Benet Ramsey. He got a Homeland Security ride home. He was exculpated. Well, they found that he wasn't responsible for John Benet Ramsey, right? And then deported him back to, I say deported, I know, extradited him back to Sonoma County, where he should have faced charges for those pornography pictures. And again, they lost his computer, so he was let off the crime. I guess what I'm really saying right now is that if you watch this documentary, you will see a full scale program that the DOJ, the FBI, the highest of ups in Central Intelligence and so forth, all culminated to lie, to perpetrate, and to put all of this criminal charges on Trump in order to prevent him from becoming president when he was running against Hillary Clinton. That's all you got?
Yeah. I don't think we'll ever know the truth about any of them. So I don't know who this Patel guy is. He may be a Trumper and maybe a slanted piece, or maybe it's totally objective. I don't know. I haven't seen it. I'll give it a day in court, though. I'll check it out.
That's what I'm saying. It is worth a check out. And again, there was only one item that I wanted to say I wasn't too sure. He claimed that he did not know who Trump was, or not that he didn't know who he was. He had never met him personally, had never spoken to him when he was assigned to investigate this case as intelligence. But when he makes the statement that he had never talked to him and never met him, he could have stopped right there, but he went on to say ever afterwards. And the look on his face didn't match the assertion that he never spoke to or met him ever. He didn't have to add ever. To me, that's an over disclosure. Yeah. So there is a possibility he was very well aware and absolutely knew or had met Trump. I'm not going to say he didn't or he did, because again, I don't know that truth. But what I can tell by what was going on in that is that he literally shows the people who were lying, the people who were then later questioned about these lies. So they actually had to go through some type of congressional hearing where they were questioned about these things, and it was just lie after lie after lie of a cover-up in order to then turn around. I mean, we now know that Russiagate was not something that was true about Trump, right? But we were led to believe that for 3-4 years.
Yeah, well, I don't know the whole story.
I don't either. I
don't know if we ever will. So.
Well, and I say the same thing, but I think this is the closest to the truth that we've gotten in a government cover-up, the weaponizing of the media, just like we talked about, everything that we talk about. I think that all I'm trying to show is the juxtaposition to what we have going on with the Zodiac killer case and the cover-up that's ensued, it's at the highest level. And this is why we may never know the truth in this case. Yeah.
Yep.
All right, so that was my tangent. Let me get my little handy dandy clicker out here and move us forward. So last week we finished off in my story with the February 19th, 2010 press release on the anthrax mailings that said Bruce Ivins was being named the one and only suspect by the FBI. So here's the FBI, once again, stepping in to make a claim and close a case on a dead person. With the assistance of the Northern Arizona University. So I needed to throw that in there because we talk a lot about Arizona in regards to Jack and the Zodiac and the anthrax letters. I think all of this stuff ties in. And then 1 week after this, Congress states they're passing a bill forcing the investigation to stay open because the handwriting forensics and MO do not match Ivins. And in between this press release by the FBI and then Congress coming back and saying, no, the case is staying open, it doesn't match. I have reached out to the FBI at this point and told Chris Hopkins they are closing the case on the wrong person. This is not Bruce Ivins, you know? Of course, that kind of fell under the carpet. And at this point in time, we also thought they were preparing to close the case. I had gotten a text message from Dennis stating that he received a text message from Chris Hopkins that they were going to be closing the Zodiac case on Jack. We got so excited. And then the following day, we saw the press release on the anthrax, and I was no longer excited. I was bent. I was very upset because I believe the handwriting, absolutely. I mean, if everybody in the highest order has said that the handwriting doesn't match Bill Ivins, then I'm not wrong to come back in and say, look, it matches this person. And of course, we never ever again, after I blurted that out to the FBI, we never ever again heard about the case being closed on Jack. And to me, that kind of solidified that there was something much bigger here. And I was likely in over my head, just like my mentor had told me from the beginning on the phone call, or actually not the very beginning, when I wanted to release my opinion to CBS 13 News in regards to Jack's match on the handwriting, I was told I was in over my head. And what exactly does that mean?
Yeah. And that just tells me that he could be affiliated with some of these people that are running the show.
That's, you have to have inside information.
His job, he was like the Jack Ruby, his job was to make sure you didn't go further than he wanted you to go. With
threats, with intimidation, threats of losing my fees that I paid to the school, $12,000, not to mention the 50% and beyond that I was giving him of every case I was doing. I mean, I had so much money invested in this program. It was unreal. And literally, when I say sick to my stomach for a week before I delivered that opinion, I was literally physically ill to my stomach. And I've only had that probably happen one other time in my life. And that's when I was working for a company that I discovered was doing fraudulent activities. They asked me to use my real estate license to begin procuring mortgages for their clients. And then I found out that they were not only creating falsified IRS forms, but also falsified paycheck stubs. And paycheck stubs were the ones I caught them on. I said, I went back in after they had delivered me these paycheck stubs. And I said, you guys, there's a check attached to the bottom of this. How in the world do you have a paycheck stub with a check attached to the bottom of it? Most people tear that off and cash it. And this was definitely before the day and age of mobile deposits. So that check should never, 2 months after it had been issued to somebody, still been attached to the paycheck stub.
Yeah. Well, they shouldn't be in possession.
Yeah, we shouldn't have had it. I have never in my life ever been given paycheck stubs from a client to procure a mortgage where it still had a check attached to it. People need their money. They cash it. It doesn't hang around. So I literally fell completely sick to my stomach once I discovered what they were doing. I did not show up to work the next day. And then I ultimately had to quit and walk away because I can't be a part of that.
Right. No, you'd get in trouble.
Exactly. It was my license on the line.
Yeah. No, that's bull.
Yeah. And that's federal. You're talking real estate fraud. IRS fraud. They were boosting people's incomes on IRS documents, filing them as a tax return, waiting till it's filed to support this person's income so that they could prove to the bank that they made this money, because if they pulled a 4506T, which is a transcript of your tax return, it would support the numbers that they're giving the bank. And that's what the bank will do. We'll submit a 4506T. Then once the deal was done on the house that they got them, they would turn around and amend the filing to show the real actual income and drop it down.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah. It was
shady.
I don't know how people think of this stuff again. So after this whole thing went down with anthrax, I began to contact anyone and everyone who I thought would want to know the truth about Jack Tarrance. We're going to see a list of the committee that I sent all of this information to. It took probably more than a day and a half to 2 days to literally fax this to everyone, because not every fax number was available. It would be busy and I would have to try again and again and again. It was very complicated. And I want to say there was like, I don't know, 30, 40 people. We'll see when we get there. I also started with Governor Arnold Schwarzenegger's office, and I walked my results into the mailroom at the state capitol, and I had not gotten a response from that one. Then I walked it into the Attorney General office of Edmund G. Brown, and we're going to see their response in a few slides. I faxed 50 or more offices of the Amerithrax Congressional Committee. Not one response. Not one person responded. And these are all, the Congressional Committee is all people of Congress. I contact Meryl Nass. She's a biochemist for the government, who said that the investigation is probably going to be placed in the CIA's hands, which I don't understand. I thought the Central Intelligence Agency only operated outside of the United States.
It's supposed to, but they've done a lot of domestic stuff.
Well,
they're
it's
just trying to conceal it.
No different.
And Hoover's really jealous because Hoover felt that the FBI had domestic, that was their jurisdiction. But the CIA pretty much used to do whatever they wanted.
Well, it sounds like to me now the FBI is no different than the IRS. They're the watchdogs for these political heavies. I mean,
they're tools. Yeah.
But I showed that they only investigate outside the U.S., but she said she would pass on my information. She did not. So I spoke to her personally. She'd pass on my information. On February 25th What's that?
I'm going to say real quick. It's funny that you mentioned the AG's office, because right around the time the Aphrodite Jones show came out, and I called my buddy that worked for the AG's office in San Francisco. He was the deputy attorney general. And he was going to look into reopening Zodiac. And then shortly thereafter, he got appointed to be a judge. And so, basically he got taken off the case.
Wow.
And nobody else followed in his footsteps. So it just kind of died right there.
Yep. That's what happens each and every time. People promise to do things that never actually happen. I'm a little over disgusted with it. And that's why I'm just trying to get my information out there for the public to hear. So they understand that it isn't for a lack of attempt to get people to pay attention. It's the lack of people's desire to pay attention. And I think it's because they're shut down at the highest level. No different than the gal that was going to do the Michelle Dresbold, that was going to do the graphology for me. Now I see and completely understand why. She's right up there in the middle of media as well. And then, quite frankly, I found, as I had stated a couple weeks back, that she had evidently stolen somebody else's work on the John Benet Ramsey case and was in a lawsuit for that, which consequently settled out of court. But I don't trust you now. Like, if you're plagiarizing people's work, if you're I don't even want to be a part of it. So I'm glad maybe that I didn't use her as that, because people could easily go online and see that she had done that. February 25th of 2010, FBI's question on closing the anthrax case. Bruce Ivins could not have been the attacker. 2010, I have www.whatsupwiththis.com, which is the website for Stephen Watts, who was the videographer, I should say, for Tim Miller, that came to my home in California. They spent a few days out here with Dennis and I. March of 2010, I did the Aphrodite Jones with Investigation Discovery. It aired on True Crimes. I'm sorry, it aired on Investigation Discovery, but it's True Crimes on the Zodiac. And we were vindicated because she did indicate that her now I understand this whole, my source at the FBI states that Jack's handwriting does match. That she made this statement at the end of that documentary. And when you watch this Government Gangsters, you're going to see the same thing. These individuals who won't give up their source, but says, my source says there's a connection between Trump and Russia. But in the end, there was no Trump. There was no connection found. And he was vindicated on the fact that he wasn't in collusion with them. So it's very interesting. If that's not just another two-tier justice system, just like Hillary and Biden getting away with having the documents in their hands that they shouldn't have and not being criminally charged for it, but they would then turn around and criminally charge somebody who's allowed to have them in their hands, classified documents. That shows you the differences of what they're willing to play with up there and who's above the law and who's not.
Hillary did. I mean, she suffered a lot of embarrassment, and there was an investigation, and that was an item for a while. The emails, for a while. And whatnot, and, yeah,
but nothing happened. She didn't get criminally
charges. No criminal charges.
And the bottom line is, she was never president. She was never allowed to have classified documents in her home. That's against the law. March 10th of 2010, I had an email from Chris Pickles trying to get all she can on the news, but they continue to stifle her and cut her segments or follow them up with crazy Bigfoot stories perpetrated by SFPD, a retired detective. So yes, literally after one of the news segments that we had done with her, it was supposed to be a few minutes long. It got cut back, I think, to a minute and a half. The information she was capable of giving just sounded salacious. And then they followed that with I found a Bigfoot in a freezer story. And I actually found, like I said, on Tom Voigt's website on the back end, gifts and different items of Bigfoot on there, as if he was either mocking or making fun of Dennis using these Bigfoot images. And in the end, it turned out it was just a freaking monkey suit in a freezer. But I found out that it was a retired detective from the SFPD that claimed to have found this, like way out east somewhere. I don't know, Colorado, Montana, something like that. I wanted to add the picture of the email, but clearly I didn't. This was interesting information. It was sent to me by a friend. And the interesting part is that I hadn't really gotten into any of this stuff when she sent this to me. So I'm not going to actually give out her information, but she was attempting to deliver this to me very early on. It wasn't something I was willing to buy into because, again, I really thought Zodiac was just a serial killer. I really thought he was just somebody who was killing all over the place and hadn't been connected by link analysis because of proximity and time. But to read some of this stuff just absolutely blows my mind now, knowing what we know. So she sends to me, this is the wider view. It is most likely connected to what you were researching, much as predicted in the book of Revelations in the Bible. Not in the detail that these videos provide, but the Bible says Satan will rule the earth for a period of time, and all this ugliness is prophesized. Jesus will ultimately defeat Satan, but we are in the era where Satanism is definitely growing. To say it is dangerous is a hugely gross understatement, as you will see. You have a lot more studying to do. Go to YouTube and enter the search box the following titles. Then get a Bible and read Revelations. I don't know if you're a Christian or not, but this message is huge. No disclosure will stop it. The only protection is Christ Jesus. Obviously, she's a religious person. Those evil people know Christ is real, or they would not put such effort into debunking him. And those aliens they all talk about are likely not from other planets, but from other dimensions. Now, I don't know where she's going with that. It's a little beyond my purview and concepts. They are most likely fallen angels, demons from other dimensions. Recent developments in quantum physics evidence the existence of multiple dimensions and evidence that time is not, in fact, a constant and that space can be bent. How all this relates to what you are studying is that there are people of extreme power who have been experimenting with all sorts of evil for a long time and manipulating all sorts of events and horrors. They are made of money. So one she talks about, and this is long before I figured out or talked about MK Ultra, Mind Control Reviewed, the true story from 1998. MK Ultra mind control victim, Kathy O'Brien, full testimony. NWO, Secret Societies and Biblical Prophecy, Volume 1, revised. The New World Order, Evil, Occult, and Fashion Industry exposed. This one mentions the Zodiac, she says. And these URLs are here. So I'm going to sit here for a minute. That way you guys can come back, freeze it, and get these URLs. The Sisterhood Illuminati, parts 1 through 4 separate videos. This is the second video. Make sure you watch them in order. The Brotherhood Illuminati, part 1 through 2. Wake Up Call, New World Order, full documentary. Endgame, HQ, full-length version. Conspiracy of Silence, Banned Discovery Channel documentary. So why it was banned, I have no idea, other than those in power who didn't want it to be seen. MK Ultra military assets, monarch-controlled altars of multiple personalities, and FEMA preparing for disaster, DHS building in an army, warns Marine colonel. So some very interesting videos. She is all over the place, which again is likely why I haven't watched any of those, but I do understand, obviously, Freemasons, Illuminati, all of this stuff. I mean, they are the ones in power ultimately.
Yeah.
Good morning, Lindsay.
Discussed before, all the astronauts that have allegedly gone to the moon or gone to space, and all the higher up mucky mucks at NASA are 33 level Freemasons.
33rd. Yes.
They even took a Freemason flag with them to allegedly the moon. If it is the moon, they had the flag with them there.
Yeah.
Yeah. Right.
Good morning, Lindsay. I knew you were there.
Good morning. I came in right about the right time, didn't I?
Yes, you did. Yeah, I mean, that's another controversy. Was the moon landing filmed inside of a studio and just to make it look like we actually landed and beat the Russians when that really isn't the truth of the matter? I mean, what does it matter who made it there if somebody actually does? That's what we should celebrate. But these people want to maintain power at all costs.
Yep.
That's why they took the two flags. One, the United States flag, the other, the Freemason flag.
It's just crazy.
That's why we've never been back either, huh?
No.
Nobody's ever been landed successfully on the moon and come back alive. Except for maybe that, the two trips by the United States.
Except for maybe.
And they were 50 years ago.
Yeah.
I don't even believe it. I don't even.
Yeah. At this point,
50 years ago.
If we still haven't done it today, how did they do it 50 years ago?
Exactly.
I mean, that sounds a little bit absurd. I know that my grandfather was a 32nd degree Mason. He didn't talk a lot about it. Yes, I have his apron and his scroll and his things from being a 32nd. I don't know what you have to do to achieve 33rd.
It's not good.
Kill somebody.
Yeah.
No. I'm just kidding.
I say funny, but the reality is that in city at one of the Freemasons joints for 4th of July, they're out there shooting off bullets in the middle of the city. That is illegal. You're not allowed to fire a firearm, especially straight into the air. So I have some of his shell casings from the bullets they were firing because he kept them and collected them off the ground. I was like, you didn't get in trouble for that, Grandpa? He's like, no, they don't mess with us. I was like, what?
Yeah. He was right. He was right.
He's not wrong. Yeah. I wish I could have gotten more out of him because he was in the Air Force at the time that the Zodiac stuff began to happen. And for whatever reason, the Air Force pretty much locked down there at Travis Air Force Base and brought in all of their personnel and military to discuss the case. Why would they do that if there was no military involvement as they're trying to make us believe today?
Exactly.
That's as much as I got
out of it. The Air Force is the big one. The Air Force is the big one.
It is. 100%. So back to law enforcement and action. This page will be reserved for the action or non-action from various law enforcement agencies since I have been on this case, and a few from Dennis Kaufman's experience that include recorded phone call conversations. Best I can tell, these emanated around 2000, 2002. The conversation with particular law enforcement agencies that reek of who has the ball. You can click on the link or the name of the agency depending on what files your computer will handle. So I basically have here, and I've actually listed out who he is actually talking to. We have heard all these videos in the past. I do plan on playing them again at the end when I wrap up with all of the evidence that supports that Jack is one of the best suspects and had the capabilities for these crimes.
Real quick, back to Grandpa. Didn't you say at one time that he had some insight into the Robert F. Kennedy assassination?
He wouldn't, I mean, divulge anything. And I don't know if that was his strong Freemason's route.
He mentioned something like that when you were talking to him about Zodiac and Donald Lass and things like that. Yes. I think that was the context, as I remember you telling me.
He's originally from Texas and was in Texas during all of that hubbub and was in the military during all of that hubbub. But again, he was very tight-lipped about things. And I didn't know sometimes if he was just messing with me, if he was truly deaf. But I'd ask him questions and I'd get some ridiculous answers that didn't feed any of my knowledge whatsoever. And he would make me give up. Like, I would be like, Matei, all right, that's enough. I just... So basically we have a conversation with between Chris Hopkins and Dennis Kaufman, and talking about sending the envelope of Jack for DNA testing to the SFPD. We have Kelly Carroll from SFPD talking about the palm print with Dennis Kaufman. Kelly Carroll with SFPD claims FBI didn't send anything with a DNA request. So now we've got Chris Hopkins at the FBI saying we sent it. They're not responding. They won't send to us. Nobody's playing fair. And we got SFPD saying nothing was sent. Like, who's got the ball? Who's got the ball? Ken Hittmeyer was the other agent that Dennis worked with. I guess he was partners with Chris Hopkins. He actually has another letter. So in this conversation, he's saying they sent one letter, but they also have a second one. So there's a second one sitting at the FBI office with possibly Jack's DNA, or again, we've got multiple sources of DNA because he's sealed it with that spit from the spittoon. Tom Connor of South Lake Tahoe PD in regards to Arthur Lee Allen. He's having a conversation with Dennis about meeting up with, I believe, the sisters of Darlene Farron or someone else. I think it was Darlene's sister, but it was in regards to Arthur Lee Allen and how he was not the suspect they were looking for. Another one with Tom Connor of South Lake Tahoe PD on Kathleen Johns. Okay, so maybe that's the sister. I don't know. When you go back, I get lost in the sauce.
Darlene Farron was acquainted with Arthur Lee Allen, but I don't think she was afraid of him.
Right. It didn't sound like anybody was afraid of him. It sounded to me like, especially even based on the documentary, that he was a nice, pleasant... Yeah, like he was a nice, pleasant person to be around, aside from the fact that he got a little handsy with children or whatever. I don't know if that's even true. I mean, honestly, I guess that there
charged with at least attempted molestation at one point. He got fired from his job at a school because of it.
That sounds very much like John Mark Carr. Yeah. I mean, right in the same area. Another one with Tom Connor of South Lake Tahoe PD on the palm print and meeting of Kathleen John. So they were trying to arrange this meeting with Kathleen Johns. I believe that she was in the Sonoma County area, and this is what this conversation is talking about. Dennis was put up in a hotel room by the FBI, who was going to meet with Kathleen Johns and Dennis Kaufman the following morning to show them Jack's picture and let her listen to his voice, and she suddenly died of a heart attack that night.
When was this?
Wow.
When was this? It had to be somewhere... Kathleen Johns.
Oh, she did. Oh, the one that got abducted?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
One of the very few alive victims that had could have full on facial recognition and voice recognition. So he was going to play Jack's voice and he was going to show pictures. No different than we went and met the link analysis detective for SFPD in Palisades. And that was more or less to get an idea because he was on the beat that night in the Presidio in the Paul Stein murder. So I wanted to, reminisce and go over pictures and show him things. So Sonoma County PD is sitting on a palm print of Jack's that is yet to be allowed by SFPD to be compared to the Zodiac's, although the palm print was from, I believe, Napa. So why SFPD is in charge of this, I have no idea. I mean, you're going to tell me all of a sudden you guys are going to give control of your case to another agency when all these years, the ploy that you guys have fallen on, the knife that you've fallen on, is that nobody will cooperate. None of these agencies will cooperate, and that's why this hasn't been solved. That's the lie they tell us. When here we have clearly... What's that?
I did not know that magically she had a heart attack before she got to meet Dennis. That is wild.
Well, and it's no different than when I spoke with Doris Reynolds in regards to Jack. Doris Reynolds was the second wife of Jack, and I had it set up because I wanted to go there and obtain DNA from her and from Danny Reynolds, because we believe that there was a possibility that some of the spit may or may not have been related to him. The DNA could be, we were looking for that second source, because you got to remember, the FBI is telling me we got two sources of DNA, and unless we can separate one source, we don't know what's left to call the Zodiac. And I'm like, all right, well, let's go here with Danny Reynolds, because there seems to be some cooperation with him, between him and Jack, because he went to CYA for 3 years. There's this happenstance of the last letter from the Zodiac being mailed off, and then 3 years later, the Zodiac coming back after Danny Reynolds is out of trouble. Jack's no longer with Doris Reynolds. He's now in the South Lake Tahoe area dating Nora, living with Nora, goes and picks Danny Reynolds up from CYA and moves him back to South Lake Tahoe with him. So I thought that there's got to be a reason why Jack is still clinging on to this kid. Right? He's not his kid.
At that time was CYA in Sacramento?
Pleasanton, I believe.
Where?
Pleasanton, Bay Area. CYA's in Bay Area, and that's a California Youth Authority.
At one time there was a CYA on Cucamonga off of Power Inn Road in Sacramento, because my cousins did time there.
We don't know how you all got raised the same. Some become criminals, some become lawyers. Is there really a splicing of the difference? I don't know. I'm kidding, Nolan. Yeah, so for whatever reason, I had made contact, and I say whatever reason. Actually, I was getting information. She was very, very reluctant to speak to me in the beginning because she was afraid Jack was still alive and that there could be some retribution. She discussed with me him attempting to kill her, her son walking in when Jack was attempting to smother her, killing of the family animals, walking her out into the forest by gunpoint, telling her to dig her own grave. Like, he did some dastardly things to this woman, and she was in such fear that the first time I spoke to her, she did not want to relay any information. She made it sound like everything was hunky-dory. I think she must have done a little bit of research, found out Jack was in fact dead, and then we had a full-on conversation. Her concern mostly was that Danny had been in and out of prison all of his life. He was the only one left to take care of her, and she did not want to give him up. So if he had been found culpable for anything involving these cases, she was afraid he'd be going back to prison, and at her age, she'd have nobody to take care of her. So again, meeting up with me was kind of here or there. I spoke to Chris Hopkins at the FBI, and I said I'm willing to go down and meet with her and possibly obtain somehow some DNA samples, whether it be something from the trash can or otherwise. I don't know. And he's like, well, you can't collect evidence that way. I'm like, well, couldn't I collect that evidence? You test it, see that it is good, and then issue a warrant to go collect it the right way yourself? Is that a possibility, Nolan?
Yeah, well, it's as long as he doesn't send you to do it. If you do it on your own and give it to him, and then it leads him to think that there's a reason to get a warrant, then I think that would be okay.
Well, and the other thing,
citizen. Yeah,
exactly.
There's no government action at that point. It's just you acting on your own.
And then the other side of that, with Danny Reynolds being in and out of prison all of his life, his fingerprints and DNA had to be on file. He had to be in CODIS. Yeah. I mean, when I'm talking to Doris, I want to say this is 2013 or so. You know, CODIS existed, right? I mean, how long has that system been out?
I don't know.
I think it's John Walsh.
Possibly. So while they claim they couldn't put Jack's DNA into the system because he wasn't a criminal, when in fact he was and had a criminal record, assault with a deadly weapon is a pretty serious crime. I think it's safe to say it's okay to put his information into the CODIS. But either way, I was looking for a way to try to separate out or find that second source. By the time the FBI showed up, or at least Chris Hopkins told me, they made a visit. I think it was to the Santa Barbara area where Doris Reynolds was, to meet with her and talk with her. They found her incapacitated in a care home. Like basically unable to talk. Really? Because I just talked to her last month and everything was fine. Wow. I don't, again, they fell and had a heart attack when, you know, they're about to look at stuff. Additional.
Just like the Kennedy assassination, DeMorenschildt, the guy that was one of Oswald's handlers in Dallas and in New Orleans, the day before he was supposed to be interviewed by this investigator who was doing a book on the Kennedy assassination, he was found dead with a shotgun blast to his face. And they claimed that it was a suicide.
That's a Chris Bush suicide right there.
Yeah.
Chris Bush of the Oakland County child murders. So additional audio recordings we have with Steve Brown from Sonoma County PD. He is also talking about SFPD not wanting to do not delivering the palm print in order for him to do the examination. And he wants to because he has a palm print of Jack's. Steve Brown again, of Sonoma County PD, the items are missing from the murdered victims. So he's talking about things that were taken from the victims, which kind of instills that notion that we've been talking about, that the Zodiac was taking clues and leaving clues to connect and link crimes.
Yes.
This was my original board. I used to think this thing is so cool. Now it's old, decrepit, and no longer white. So this was my whiteboard when I started this investigation way back in the day. So we see on 3/10/09, Dennis Kaufman contacts me in regards to the Zodiac. I did a verbal and written opinion in regards to this. On 9/22/09, Black Dahlia, I did a verbal and a written for the FBI. On 9/29/09, I did the lipstick killings. I did a verbal and a written opinion for the FBI. On 10/15/09, I did a compilation of spelling errors for Zodiac, Black Dahlia, and lipstick killings, showing how they were a match. And that was a verbal and written opinion. And I did actually do a presentation live and spoke about it on 10/15. On 2/9/2010, the Zodiac JT spelling, again, a verbal, a written, and a presentation given in 2010. On August 12/2010, Dennis and I went to LAPD and did the verbal, written, and presentation for the captain and Mitzi Roberts, which I believe, let's see, this is Rick Overton. I'm trying to see who I've gotten here. There's Mitzi Roberts' card right there. So my Los Angeles Police Department visitor card right there. And then on January 11th of 2011 is when Dennis and I went to the Napa Police Department, we went to the Napa Sheriff's Department, but we were joined by an officer from Napa PD and the Sheriff's Department. And not only did I do the verbal, written, and also testified, basically giving a presentation to both of those officers. All right, I wanted to give a presentation to those officers. They did not want me to do that, which really sounds silly, because if I'm coming to you and you're not sure if this evidence is enough to move on when you've been given a grant by the government in order to research and investigate cold cases, and I'm coming to you willingly offering you this free of my time, I'm an expert and wanting to give this to you, and you to deny me of that just absolutely blows my mind. On March of 2010, we met with Tim Miller and Stephen Watts. On 2/14 of 2011, I met with Robert Young, which was the private investigator for Tim Miller. And then, of course, the 40 members of Congress and Amerithax. So I started making a list up to that point. I hear my phone going off. Oh, timer, we got 5 minutes. All right, so I also contacted Mary Lacey, former DA of Boulder County. She forwarded my information to Commander Stewart of Boulder County Police Department. She was the only proactive individual so far, and this is in the John Benet Ramsey case, because she in 2008 had also ran another DNA test with the newer DNA technology that excluded the son and the parents from possibly having been a donor of the DNA that was found on John Benet's body. Commander Stewart called me, and she was very pleasant. She said to go ahead and send in Jack's handwriting, gave me her address. Then out of the blue, I received a voice message saying, you do not need to send in Jack Tarrance handwriting. I won't tell you why Jack Tarrance isn't being investigated right now. I can't tell you why Jack Tarrance isn't being investigated right now. That's the message.
Yeah.
That's absolutely just like the handwriting report given to me by the FBI that said Jack may have written it, Jack may not have written it. Like, you can't tell me and you won't tell me. Why is there this double thing going on again?
Like, oops, I was supposed to talk to you. Oops, never mind.
Yeah.
And also, just saying that leads you to believe that maybe he is still being investigated, and they just found some stuff they don't want the public to know.
Exactly. There's something going on there. You don't go from please send me the stuff and I'll never get back to you to a message that says that. It just doesn't make any sense. I contacted Tim Miller of Texas Equisearch. He flew out here, lied to me, caused a fight between myself and Dennis, and stole my 200-page personal report of nuances of Jack W. Tarrance Jr. and Zodiac. I was pissed. So not only did the pictures that prove Jack was in Texas for many of the I-45 killings, but I also lost a 200-page personal report that I had done. He hasn't spoken to me since. Obviously, this is way back in 2013 because he did reach out to me right after I started this documentary to see if I still believed that Jack Tarrance was in fact the Zodiac killer after receiving his civil judgment against Clyde Hedrick, who he believed was the suspect who killed his daughter. Let's see. I said he hasn't.
Recently.
What's that?
Claude Hedrick. He recently died.
Oh, okay. I thought you were talking about Tim Miller. He's been pretty ill, and he was, I guess, ill at the time that we spoke. And I think that's why he was having his coming to Jesus meeting with his guilt and his knowledge of what I provided him, and an avenue that he clearly never fully investigated like he should have. He hasn't spoken to me since, but he did leave with a sample of a very toxic powder. It turned the gloves Dennis was wearing brown. So Dennis opened up some type of powder in a black canister for film for negatives of like a 35 millimeter negative can. He opened it up and it, for whatever reason, immediately turned the latex gloves he was wearing brown, which Dennis then thought was some type of toxic material. So Tim Miller left with that toxic powder. He was to have it tested for anthrax, but he's holding out on telling us due to a book deal he has in the works. So that's what was the last words I heard about that. And then at some point after, Dennis had mentioned that it was actually cremated bones. Well, whose? Because if it's in Jack's belongings, that's rather weird. And then to have them chemically change the structure of latex gloves, I didn't even know that was possible. I've seen plenty of people play with cremated ashes. They'll dump it on stuff, they'll.
So you guys willingly gave that to him to have it tested, and he never gave it back and never gave you the test results?
No, and at the time when he didn't respond back as to the test results, he had told Dennis that he was holding out on it due to a book deal that he had in the works. But I don't know what the book deal would be in regards to.
It doesn't make any sense. It would either strengthen his cause or not be a factor at all. But you still have it tested. The book deal shouldn't matter a bit.
Well, and he never.
Or not.
he obviously never bought that Jack was the perpetrator of the I-45 killings and his daughter. He thought Clyde Hedrick was. So why would you be doing a book deal that any evidence from Jack Tarrance would be withheld? So I still don't know the status of that testing. I mean, I guess that's just what we were told.
He won a civil suit against Hedrick, but was he ever charged criminally? He was never convicted criminally. I know that.
No.
Okay.
And we are down to our last 20 seconds, you guys. I thought I would make it through the rest of my information this week, but it looks like we have a little bit more to go. So we will return next week and finish off the amount of law enforcement agencies I have made contact with and attempted to give this evidence to. I thank you both, Lindsay and Nolan, for being here. You guys have a wonderful weekend, as well as the audience, and we will see you next Friday.
See you Friday or sooner.
Not in the news, hopefully.
No.
No.